Good evening to you all and a very warm welcome to RTV News. Thank you very much for joining us here and we hope you had yourselves a very productive day. Now, top of our edition tonight, these are headlines. The government of Rwanda granted temporary permission to private buses and 7-seater vehicles to transport passengers in Kigali while the government is looking for a sustainable way to deal with public transport issues. The members of the Executive Council of the African Union, who concluded a 3-day retreat in Kigali, believe that the challenges encountered in the first 10 years of the journey to 2063 goals will not prevent them from achieving the goals that the continent has committed to before that year. Mental health experts are urging families to avoid domestic violence because it is helping to drive minors into drugs and life on the streets. Once on the streets, girls in particular become victims of further social ills and most end up having children of their own while still only teenagers. Now, health experts at the Rwanda Biomedical Center have been expressing concerns over the mental impact such as hardships that the young people have been able to experience, as well as the consequences they can have on the society as a whole, if left unchecked. Research has found that a vast majority of youth who struggle in this way are between ages of 13 and 25. Most of those we talked to see social media as a solution in terms of freedom to express different and constructive opinions. But there are those who use them in a way of overstepping, intruding into privacy of others, and sharing information that may be disturbing to other people, including people they are related to.
I'm not really sure about the laws that govern social media in this country, but sometimes things get a little out of hand. People create stories that are far from the truth. A lot of people go and put different kinds of stories on social media. One knows who the other is. Then people start commenting and things get out of hand. This is how rumors and false information spreads, which is not good.
On the other hand, the majority of young people say that it is difficult to control social media and that the easiest thing is for everyone to know how to filter and avoid the harm that can be brought to them as a result of the use of social media.
There are some who use social media for their own benefit in terms of creating stories that can hurt the society through such information. They use their platforms like YouTube to create their views and bring about attention to their stories and use hateful speech to hurt others. So for us who are consuming the content, we need to determine for ourselves whether it is beneficial to us or not.
If you can meet someone for the first time and they ask you about your job and other personal information, and you proceed to give out your information details, then honestly, one has brought that upon themselves. For example, when you see a post on social media of someone whose pictures were leaked without their consent, yes, it is unfortunate, but at that point, where there is smoke, there is always a fire. We need to use social media wisely and carefully. The spokesperson of Rwanda Investigation Bureau, Dr. Murangira Thierry, says that the Constitution and other laws of Rwanda protect those who have been cyberbullied and that those who face that problem should appeal to the authorities in order for justice to be served.
Amategeko ahana ibi bikorwa nk'ibi ni menshi, harimo gutukana mu ruhame aho umuntu ashobora kwifata akajya kuri social media akagira uwatuka.
There are multiple laws that govern such offenses. For example, cyberbullying, when someone goes onto social media sites to offend people. All of these crimes have consequences on them, and once reported and the authorities are alerted, then justice is served.
Article 35 of the law regulating cyberbullying crimes provides for penalties that can reach up to 2 years in prison, which can be increased, and a fine of between 1 million and 2 million Rwandan francs. There was a story on how some residents of the city of Kigali criticized those who use social media in a way to disrupt others or disturb the freedom and the peace of the public. Now moving on to the first story, the government of Rwanda granted temporary permission to private buses and seven-seater vehicles to transport passengers in Kigali while the government is looking for a sustainable way to deal with public transport issues. Now meanwhile, on Tuesday, Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority announced a new price of petroleum products where a liter of fuel will be sold at 1,822 Rwandan francs. Olive Nete with more.
The vehicles that have been granted temporary permission to transport passengers as part of the regular public transportation system include private buses and seven-seater vehicles. Most of these vehicles used to do this work illegally and thus cause chaos. The drivers of these vehicles see that this is an opportunity for them since some of them would sit without making profit.
There is a great benefit because these buses that were allowed to do public transport were not enough. There are vehicles that are not in use and sometimes work illegally, but if we are not allowed to work, this is beneficial to us because we will be able to pay the insurance and other expenses because at times we pay insurance when we have no clients. First of all, this will help us to assist people in need, and second, it will give us money so that we can afford the fuel, and third, we will have something to do instead of sitting around all day.
In order to reduce the queues of passengers noticed at various bus stations, the Ministry of Infrastructure stressed that they are willing to work together with bus owners to repair their vehicles so as to increase the number of buses on roads. Residents are content of the decision.
This will help us to use time wisely because instead of waiting for the bus, I can speak with other people on the queue and agree to pay that vehicle for fast transport and get to work on time. Sometimes it can also rain, but the fact that these other vehicles are allowed will benefit us.
On the other hand, on Tuesday, the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority announced new prices for petroleum products where the price of fuel will be 1,822 Rwandan francs per litre from 1,639 Rwandan francs, and the price of diesel will be 1,662 per litre from 1,492 Rwandan francs. The Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, points out that the government will continue to provide support in order to help the residents not to be burdened by these new prices, but also insists that this is a temporary decision made to address the issue of public transport.
These other vehicles will not park inside bus parks. They will find other parking areas near bus stations. We will not impose them any price, rather they will negotiate with people. But these are temporary decisions that we may change according to the situation. We have already sent teams in various bus stations that will follow up on the established measure to see if there is anything we need to change. But at the start, those who will join buses in bus stations will use the same prices. But those who will work outside the bus stations won't be concerned with these prices. And even those that have vehicles that they can use in public transportation, but we won't establish prices for them or support them in any way.
As for the Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Jean Chrysostome Gabitsinze emphasized that no trader should use this increase as an excuse to hike up prices of agricultural products.
What we
usually look at is when the prices of petroleum products change. How does it affect the commodity prices? There is only a slight change that shouldn't hike up prices in transport or in agricultural products. When there is an increase in petroleum products, it slightly affects agricultural products, but normally there shouldn't be any big changes, be it in the public transportation and the transportation of goods. The increase on diesel, which is mostly used in the transportation of agricultural products, shouldn't hike up prices of these products.
The Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority urges owners of such vehicles to register to offer the services. The registration is free of charge and the services will not attract taxes. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Olivnete, for that report. Now, the members of the Executive Council of the African Union, who concluded a 3-day retreat in Kigali, believe that the challenges encountered in the first 10 years of the journey to the 2063 goals will not prevent them from achieving the goals that the continent has committed to before that year. Adam Squizera with more.
The 10 years of this journey have been marked by wars across the continent, coups in various African countries, increase of hunger and poverty in many countries, as demonstrated by the participants of this retreat.
Peace and stability is still a challenge in some of our member states. Poverty is still a challenge in quite a number of our countries. Then against that background, we also have situations of debt distress. So as we move forward now, to say in the next 10 years, this is the direction in which we wanted to go.
Are you hopeful?
I'm very hopeful, because you see the issue is that we took an initiative to come up with the African Union Agenda 2063. Having taken that initiative, the task to implement it fully and effectively rests with Africa. It's our duty, and we are ready to do it.
The Chief Executive Officer of the African Union Development Agency, New Partnership for Africa's Development, AUDA NEPAD, noted that in the planning of the next 10 years, this continent should have one voice in solving the issues that concerns it.
It's agreed that we need to strengthen the provision for Africa's common position on pertinent matters. Example, environment and climate change, global financial reforms, African financial institutions and instruments, challenges of debt servicing, energy transition, migration, Africa's food sovereignty, and other issues like Africa's partnership with the rest of the world as an integral part of advocacy and implementation of second 10-year implementation plan.
Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Vincent Biruta, affirms that the challenges encountered in the previous 10 years of this journey will never stop this continent from achieving its dreams.
We wanted to stress that what has come out overwhelmingly in our deliberations is that the challenges observed in the implementation of the first 10 years of Agenda 2063 cannot and will not obstruct our resolve to move forward and accelerate the implementation of Agenda 2063. We owe it to our people to make it work and deliver the Africa we want.
Some of these mobilizers are the African financial institutions, civil society, and the private sector, who join the strong leadership of the continent's member states in achieving the 2063 goals. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
People in Nyamasheke district are worried about 346 old classrooms that are in a sorry state and are in need to be replaced, as well as more than 450 that need to be renovated. At one primary school in the district, just half of the 19 classrooms in use have been deemed to be in good shape. 6 are in need of repairs and 5 have been found to be beyond any real hope of renovation and will need to be demolished completely so that new ones can be built. To make matters worse, district authorities say Nyamasheke's budget during this fiscal year allows for only 10 new classrooms to be built, a mere drop of water in the lake that is the problem of dilapidated classrooms there. Because of some of the remoteness of Nyamasheke's schools and the difficulty of delivering construction materials, on an average, a classroom will cost the district at least 10 million Rwandan francs. 19 of the districts do not have clean water, while another 18 have never had electricity. And on behalf of the news production team and myself, we would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. My name is Martina Abera. Have a great night.